scenario 220 scenario. So we started off, we took out a loan for $30,000. We're gonna use this loan to pay for the initial costs of our fermenter 5 so that we don't have to drop below 50,000, so we don't have to take another loan out. And then, I mean, as you can see here, we've already invested in our fermenter 5 so that when the simulation starts, we'll have it being processed immediately. And we're gonna make 8 production orders, which we've already done. We made 4 alley cats, two Taj Mahals, and 2 Edgars. So there's all the scrimmage sim stuff. Now Grace is gonna show you her spreadsheet.
So this is my spreadsheet. Um, I started off with the 5th fermenter option. I implemented that as soon as I could so that starting on the 4th month on April, it would come into play and I could be making more. I tried to get the production of Alley Cat up in the summer months, and that meant lowering some of them, such as like Taj Mahal, but also trying to keep a consistent inventory so that none of my inventory went negative. I kept a little less inventory in Edgar Ale because that we didn't need as much in because they didn't sell out during any specific season. And then I changed the price in Alley Cat just $1 um more in the summer months. I kept it the same with Edgar Ale. I kept the same throughout, and then the same for Taj Mahal as well. So I ended up with an EBT of $238,029. And it was easier for me to get that far with the 5th fermenter, so I didn't really have to change prices as much, just kept an eye on Alley Cat, and that's what we'll be doing for the simulation as well. And now I'll give to William.
Okay, so this is my spreadsheet. I wanted my spreadsheet this time to be based off if you don't buy a fermenter. So if it stays at 4, what's the uh maximum EBT that you can get? And the maximum EBT that you could get was 225,000. So for me to even get that number to begin with, I changed the price of Taj Mahal for the first month down $1. So the change in demand would be 877. I also tried to keep somewhat of the production consistently. Well, actually, for my production, I started off higher for most of the L's and then I dropped them down. And for April through July, I upped the price by 50 cents because I increased the production to 4,000 production. And for Alley Cat, I always start the production higher. So my production will always be around 7,000 to begin with. And I also up the price to $18 for the first month. And for Edgar L, I really kept that price about the same. There wasn't much of a change in demand when changing the price higher or lower. So I pretty much kept that the same. And I just had negative EBT for really January and February. You can see as the months, like, you can see as every month goes on, the EBT gets higher until we got to September. So it really shows a huge difference of adding a fermenter, and you will see that within Logan's spreadsheet.
So you guys see my spreadsheet? Okay. So for production for Taj Mahal, I started out, I decreased it all to 2,000. I believe you were instructed to do that. Um, I had lost sales, so I had to adjust the later months higher so I can make up for lost sales. I didn't want to change the price for Taj Mahal. I left it all the same just for simplicity, so we don't have to worry about changing it in the simulation. But I started off low and had to increase it to make up for lost sales. For Alley Cat, um, I started out with a higher production orders to build a stockpile for the summer months, and then you can see I jumped up to 8,000. I increased it by quite a bit, and that's right when I got my fifth fermenter. So I started utilizing my fifth fermenter as soon as I could, and that helped me to get a higher EBT for Alley Cat in these months. Price wise, I left it mostly the same. I increased it to the highest point at 17 at the peak of the summer, and then kind of feathered it out lower as the months got farther away from then. Um, Edgar, I wanted to keep Edgar roughly 2 to 3,000 the entire time for production, and I did that. But I left the price the same as for Edgar too, just for simplicity, and it's the one of the most elastic, so it doesn't really you don't really want to change that price. Um, my final EBT was 241,000, and I believe that was the highest out of the three spreadsheets. So we're gonna base our plan for the scenario off of my spreadsheet. Um, the way we're gonna do that is just I'll look at this and make up the production orders and try to duplicate it as best as I can, even though the production orders in the scenario aren't evenly, we can't get them exactly same as the spreadsheet, but we'll get it as close as possible, making up for it as needed. And then we'll just change prices as needed too. Really, it's just for Alley Cat. I left the prices the same just so we didn't have to bother with it. And then we're gonna buy the fifth fermenter as soon as possible and with we're gonna begin using it as soon as we get it. So that's gonna be our plan for the scenario.
So the jobs on this scenario, we will have Logan as he'll be watching what loans to pay. He'll watch the different financial statements while also monitoring his spreadsheet because he's the one that we're using. Grace will be doing work center queue and making any change in prices. I will be putting in production orders and paying off the loans that Logan tells me to. And yeah, that's our strategy for this scenario.